Hi everybody, it's Joyce here from Black Hair Compass. I wanted to come to you guys with part 2 of my mini series on how I'm going about doing my weight loss. So in the first part, I talked to you guys about the tools that I'm using to kind of help me as I go through this journey. And for this video, I'm going to talk about the changes to my diet that I have made. It's not too complicated, but there are some things that I have definitely done differently, and because of that, I am seeing results. So the first thing that I want to talk about is my water intake. I hope this is not TMI, but you should be drinking enough water to the point that your pee is clear, or at the very least that it's light golden. Prior to me really being on this health journey, that was something that I struggled with all the time. I was chronically dehydrated, so much so that whenever I would go to the doctor and they would need a sample, they'd tell me every time that I went, you're really dehydrated, you need to drink more water. And then I would also get exertion headaches, which is where you have so little water in your body that doing simple things like walking uphill will cause you to get a headache because your blood is so thick that it's causing pain to pass through your veins. That's how dehydrated I was. So I got serious about staying hydrated for those reasons, and also because it plays a role in weight loss. So like I said before, you need to drink enough water so that you are peeing clear, or at the very least light golden. And for me, that's about 88 ounces a day. You can go online and there are tons of different ways you can calculate what would be the right thing for you. A lot of people say drink your body weight in ounces. So if you weigh 130 pounds, drink 130 ounces. Some people say half that. I started with trying to drink my body weight, and it was way too much water. So I just kind of played with it until I could kind of see okay, my pee is clear. This is where I'm going to stop. And for me, that's about 88 ounces. So you definitely need to increase your water intake. And I would suggest that you even track it. I use an app for that as well. It's called HydroCoach, and it pretty much just keeps track of how much water I'm drinking. And that's how I just stay on top of making sure that I'm hitting my milestones throughout the day. I was much better about it in the beginning of my journey, and I kind of fell off a little bit with it, and I started to see the impact of that. So I'm back up to doing the right thing, and I'm drinking my water again. The second thing that I changed to my diet is that I do count my calories, and I have made an intentional decision to decrease them. Again, kind of figuring out how many calories you should consume is kind of it's going to vary from person to person, and there are a lot of online tools that you can use to help you determine what is the amount of calories you should eat to maintain your current body weight, and what's the number of calories you should eat to decrease your body weight. Again, I mentioned in my last video that I like to use Lifesum, and all I did was just enter in my age, my height, my current weight, my goal weight, and then I said my goal is to lose weight, and so it kind of told me eat this number of calories, and I just kind of stuck with that. And with that, I was losing in between 1 to 2 pounds a week. So you can use Lifesum as the app to kind of tell you how much you should eat, or you can go online and do some research about how many calories you do, because there's tons of calculators out there. I'll probably leave a link in the description box, so that if you just want to know where I went to kind of get an idea outside of Lifesum how much I should eat, I'll leave that down in the description box for you. But a quick Google search will give you tons of different options. And so I guess it's always the blanket statement that everyone says to just reduce your calories, but one of the ways that I found it to be the easiest way to decrease my calories that I'm eating is to decrease starchy carbohydrates. And I know a lot of people don't like hearing don't shame carbohydrates, our body needs them. And I agree. I totally agree that our bodies need them. But if you are in the process of trying to lose weight, you have to eat less calories than you need. And one of the easiest ways to do that is to decrease the number of carbohydrates you're eating, because carbs are so calorie dense. And by the way, not all carbs are bad, because fruits and vegetables, those are primarily carbohydrates. So we're not saying to eliminate all carbs, just the starchy ones. And those are, and examples of that would be bread, pasta, rice, potatoes. And yeah, I mean, you can see the difference. I remember for a while my breakfast was like eggs and sausage, and then like as I was getting more comfortable in my diet, I started to like throw a piece of toast in there, and I was amazed at how high my calories jumped just from one piece of toast. And that's one of the upsides of using Lifesum, because it'll give you constant feedback about what it is you're eating, because I don't think that we kind of have as good of an idea of how many calories are in the things that we eat, and Lifesum kind of helps me to figure that out. So again, I digress. The easiest way to cut in your calories is to decrease, or let me not say eliminate, decrease your starchy carbohydrates. And if you must eat carbs because you just, you want some every now and then, choose the whole grain option. So for instance, if you want toast, instead of choosing white bread, choose whole grain bread. Instead of eating white rice with dinner, eat brown rice. Instead of eating white potatoes, eat sweet potatoes. What's another one? Instead of eating like white pasta, eat whole grain pasta. So you don't have to completely eliminate it, but do make that change. And the reason for that is because a lot of these high starchy refined carbohydrates like white bread, white pasta, they digest really quickly. So as soon as you eat them, our bodies are really efficient at digesting them and metabolizing them. And what happens is you don't stay full for very long. And that's kind of like where a lot of people mess up in their diets, is they know they have to restrict their calories, but then they make the mistake of eating something that digests very quickly. So they're hungry before they know it, but they only have an X amount of calories left in their day to meet their target. So that can put you in an odd spot. So if you must eat starchy carbs, choose the whole grain option, because whole grain options actually digest much slower. And whole grain doesn't mean anything more than it's just more in its natural state. When we have refined carbs like white flour, white bread, they've stripped a lot of the nutrients, and the things that they're stripping are nutrients that actually slow down digestion. So you actually want those things in. So eating the whole grain option is the better option if you must eat starchy carbs, but it would be best to limit starchy carbohydrates as much as you can while you're on your diet, because it'll probably make it easier to eat your calorie target. So another thing that I did was I calculated my macros. And for those of you guys who are not familiar with macros, it's just a fancy way of saying how much protein you're eating, how many carbs you're eating, and how much fat you're eating. Because pretty much everything we eat falls in one or maybe one or two of those categories, and the amount that you eat of each will dictate what your end results are. And for me, I am someone who is trying to I'm trying to lose weight, but I would like for that weight loss to be primarily fat and not muscle mass. So for me, it's important for me to keep up with my macros, because it's best for me to try to eat a certain amount of protein, because if I have protein in my system, whenever I do heavy weightlifting, it'll be available for my body to use to repair my muscles, which will keep them maybe not growing large, but at least keep them the same size. Because again, an aside, every time you lift weights, you actually make tears in your muscles, and your body repairs that with protein. So if you have protein available in your system, it's likely that your muscles won't shrink. They'll probably shrink a little bit, but I can slow that down a little bit by consuming a considerable amount of protein. I read a huge article, or not a huge article, but I read an article on what's the best macros formula for me and what I'm trying to do. And I will leave that link in the description box as well, so you can read through that, because it's going to be different from person to person. So that's just something to think about. And the last thing, or the last change, or I really shouldn't say it's a change to my diet, but it's a consideration that I made for my diet, and it is plan ahead and come up with a strategy. So I read online that it's probably best to give yourself a cheat meal, one cheat meal a week, just to give yourself a little bit of wiggle room, because it can be really difficult to hit a certain calorie target every single day for every single meal. But if you give yourself a little bit of wiggle room, it'll make your chances for success much higher, because you already know you're going to allow yourself this one little treat, so that if in the end you accidentally eat too much for one meal, you don't feel so discouraged that you just give up altogether, because it's built into your plan. So for me, I have one cheat meal, and because I go to like Bible study once a week, and the people in my Bible study, they'll bring dinner. So that's the one meal that I don't actually have control over. So I have made that my cheat meal. I never know what someone's gonna bring. I don't know what they're gonna be serving. So I just automatically assume, okay, Wednesday night, that's my cheat meal. And for the other nights, I'm gonna eat according to plan. Another thing is as you stay on your diet, you'll start to be a little bit more in tune with your body, and you might be feeling hungry. You'll understand how you operate. And something that I've learned about myself is I'm not super hungry in the morning, but I get very hungry around 2 and 3 o'clock. It's like right in between lunch and dinner. So I know that for me, it's best to eat a high protein breakfast, but low calorie, so that I have calories left over for that mid-afternoon snack. I found that if I don't have enough calories left over to give myself that snack around 2 or 3 o'clock, I am like ravenous by dinner, and I make really bad choices, and that can derail your overall success as well, because you don't want to get to a point where you're so hungry that you're just like eating everything. And that's kind of how I get if I don't have my mid-afternoon snack. So start paying attention to yourself. Keep a mental track of the cues, and you'll learn over time what is the best strategy for you, and how to best stay on track. I hope that this video helped. These are some of the things that I have changed about my diet, and I have seen a tremendous difference. If you're someone who's in the midst of changing things about your diet to achieve weight loss, please leave a comment below and share some of the tips that you have used that have worked for you, so that other people can benefit from them as well, myself included. But as always, thank you guys for tuning in, and I will see you next time.